Hey, it's Barbara Milton. Thanks a lot for checking out my videos on my channel here. I'm really new to this game. I don't know how to do it very well, but I wanted to resume my videos where I discuss my journey with bladder cancer, among other things. But I used to make these videos, I'd say starting in July of 2012, and then I stopped making them. Just really trying to carve out a life with this particular type of bladder cancer that I have, which essentially has me living life in 90-day spurts, because the form of bladder cancer I have, called urothelial carcinoma, I'll give the metaphor that a doctor at Memorial Sloan Kettering once gave me, which is, it's like having weeds growing in a garden. And my bladder is the garden, and the tumors are the weeds. And it is true, I've been populating tumors, many tumors over the years. I'm still fighting them, they're still growing in. And every 90 days I get a procedure into my bladder called a cystoscopy, which is a tube that has a camera and lights, and they can also put other instruments through it, like water, to flush it out, the bladder. And they also put other instruments in to take tissue samples and scrape and burn tumors. So I get that every 90 days, and that was so for a long time. That was from 2012 to 2016. And then something happened with my right kidney, and we learned that the same tumors that were in my right kidney, my bladder, had now populated in my kidney. And at the time, the conventional wisdom, I should say, not real knowing, was that either the tumors were growing in the bladder and moved up to the kidney, or they were populated in the kidney and dropping down into the bladder. There's two schools of thought on that. But regardless of how it got there, in 2016, the tumors did appear in my kidney. And I was pretty much told straight away that, we should just take the kidney out and you'll be okay because you'll have one kidney. And in retrospect, I really should have fought that. I should have really asked for other options. And I didn't. And I'm a much more savvy patient now. I know a lot more. I question a lot more. And this is important. You should always question your doctors. You should always do, not, a lot of research, but know what you're dealing with. You become more learned with any medical condition when you have a chronic condition or even acute condition. You immediately become your authority on it. And it's important to frame questions, to put questions down where your gaps of knowledge are, and to ask your physicians and your nurses and your clinical team the questions you need to ask to get the answers you need. That's very important. So at any rate, in 2016, I lost my right kidney. I had chemo, a form of chemo called cisplatin, along with gemcitabine, which was intravenous. And, when they dissected the kidney after they removed it, which is called a nephrectomy, they also removed my ureter, and they removed the part of the bladder where the ureter attaches to the bladder, called the bladder cuff. And I believe a piece of my adrenal gland was taken out, along with several, maybe I think 21 lymph nodes. It's a hell of a surgery. But it was all done laparoscopically, so the recovery was fairly quick. And the good news, as I said, was I had a second kidney, so I went on with my life. And that was 2016. 2018, I had started having blood in the urine, which is the telltale sign something's going on with your bladder and kidney. In fact, that's how bladder cancer is diagnosed. One of the reasons is having blood in your kidney. Blood in your urine. And At that time in 2018, there seemed to be some competing culprits for the reason why the blood was in my urine. None of the doctors at Memorial Sloan Kettering seemed to think it was at all related to the fact that I could have had tumors in this only remaining kidney, which in retrospect just really bothers me. I mean, why wouldn't you think that? It happened in my right kidney. Why wouldn't it happen in my left kidney? But anyway, they asked me to give urine. They collected the urine. They did urinalysis, and it suggested that I had a UTI. Okay. And they thought that was the culprit for the bleeding, the blood in my urine. And that was the end of the story. They treated me for the UTI. Then I had another bout of a UTI about a month later, which is also very common with people with bladder cancer. And never once did anyone think to check my left kidney for the presence of tumors. Because what happened was, in the fall of 2018, October 11th or 12th, I went into full-blown renal failure. And how do we know that? Because I started urinating blood clots, passing blood clots. Then I couldn't void at all. And I went to the ER, and my blood work was done, and my creatinine was somewhere at the 8.0 and more level. That's like very dangerous. So, they stabilized me. I was in the hospital for 11 days. I got stabilized, and what they concluded from all the tests and everything was that I now had tumors in my left kidney. And again, I think because scientists sometimes don't think about multiple causality, like we have this very either or mindset, which is prevalent in science and prevalent in our dominant culture. Me, myself, and my culture, which is not Eurocentric, is the concept of and both. It could be that and something else at the same time. And as I said, I didn't know enough then. I was a little freaked out. I was bleeding blood clots and not feeling well. That it shouldn't be on the patient anyway, to be the diagnostician. But in retrospect, I should have said, yo, can't you see? This is really the exact same thing that happened in 2016, where I lost my right kidney. Could you just get a scope in there to figure out what's going on before I went into renal failure? Because at that point, it was like I had totally distressed my only kidney. But again, in hindsight, hindsight's 2020. Anyway, so my life changed drastically when the cancer showed up in the other kidney. We are doing everything to fight to save this one kidney right now. That meant I had to immediately change a lot of things about my lifestyle, especially dietary. So I now adhere to the chronic kidney diet, which is essentially low potassium, low phosphorus, low sodium, low fat, low uric acids, and increased volumes of fluids, especially water. And I drink distilled water or spring water. And that has resulted in a net gain for me in terms of weight loss. I went down from 288 pounds right before the hospitalization in the summer of 2018 to 238 pounds right now, and I really need to do better. But it is a pretty solid 50 pounds shift. And that's owing to the change in my diet. I eat kidney-friendly foods. I try to eat foods that don't stress my kidney out. And I try to stay very, very mindful of hydration. And you have to do other things too, like you have to rest. And you have to try not to get stressed out. And to help me with those things, I use a lot of meditation. That's become a practice that I've adopted and integrated into my life in a better way. And I also use medical marijuana because I have other medical conditions. And those medical conditions of the spine, primarily, which impact my mobility. I have frequent inflammation of various muscles. I say, oh, here's the muscle inflammation du jour, because every day it seems like it's a new one. And I was on, a pain management doctor who prescribed me pain meds, which were helpful, but the only remedy seemed to be to increase the dosages, as well as like more invasive things like different shots into different nerves and parts of my body that was, a little painful. But the worst part was the painkillers caused me to be so constipated that it burst the capillaries in my bladder, which caused my bladder to bleed, which sent me down that whole rabbit hole of a bleeding bladder. So I was sort of between a rock and a hard place. I had some very rigid views about marijuana use. I guess pretty consistently through my middle 30s on. And some of that has to do with the politics of marijuana in this country, and how that's the point of contact for so many young children of color, but also all children, contact in the juvenile justice system. And also because I was not keen on really smoking that much. I had smoked cigarettes for a really long time, and it was, you know, actually that's probably why I had bladder cancer, because I smoked cigarettes for 17 years of my life. And then I gave up those cigarettes, and I recovered my breathing, and my having good breath means everything. And smoking, the cessation of smoking helped with that. So I had this conundrum with the medical marijuana. I had a lot of conflicts about it. But to choose between edible marijuana products, which I make tinctures, which are solutions using the medicinal plant, the marijuana plant, and I mix it with a substance that allows me to, I put it in an eye drop bottle, and I sublingually put it under my tongue, my dosing of my medical marijuana medication. And that way I don't have to smoke it, and I get the effects that I need, which is anti-inflammation, anti-anxiety, anti-pain, allows me to sleep, allows me to rest. I get tremendous benefits from it. It is so expensive. Of course, it is not covered by insurance. So I'm not able to purchase it all that often because I do live on a fixed income as a person who who's disabled. But it's helpful when I do take it. So I manage my pain that way. And so the name of my cancer, as I said, is urothelial carcinoma. When the tumors show up in my bladder, that's called lower tract, the lower tract of the urinary system, and I always get tumors there. In fact, March 24th this year, 2020, I had tumors there, low-grade and high-grade tumors. And we had to make a plan to mitigate those. And the plan for now was surveillance, because every 90 days I get a scope into the bladder and up into my only kidney. And the other part of your urinary tract is called the upper tract, which is the ureter into the renal pelvis into the kidney. Now that's the unique disease I have, the unique kind of cancer I have, where tumors can be expressed in either the lower tract or the upper tract. As I said, in the lower tract, in the bladder proper, I've just been growing tumors just about nonstop since July of 2012. And sometimes the tumors were there and I needed to get chemo, which is mitomycin treatments, which I called the purple Kool-Aid, or BCG treatments, which is an immunotherapy treatment, which is a virus that is injected into your bladder that is related to the tuberculosis virus. And when they install that through a catheter into my bladder, my immune response, attacks that virus. And the result of that, the residual of that, researchers found, and this is amazing, that the substance left over, the residual, prevents other tumors from growing in my bladder. Potentially prevents. Because I always have had tumors, except for a couple of times in those 90-day cycles where I didn't have any. We call that an all clear. But I'm just one of those people that have populated them pretty much nonstop since 2012 of July. So a very interesting thing happened. I'll share one last thing. This will bring you totally up to date with what's been happening with me. And that is that in 2018, when I went into renal failure, and we learned that the tumors were there, and they were high-grade tumors sometimes. Sort of the conventional wisdom is if they're high-grade tumors, they're dangerous. That means they grow more aggressively. If they're low-grade, you just sort of go, whew, thank God, they're low-grade. I don't have to have chemo. I don't have to have any other intervention. But in my case, so often, I have had a mixture of both kinds of tumors. And they tell me that that's kind of rare. I don't know. If you know differently, tell me. But usually you either have low grade or you have high grade of this particular urothelial carcinoma. And you can have it in either the lower part of the urinary tract, the bladder and urethra, or the upper part of the urinary tract, which is the ureters and the kidney. So when this happened in 2018, when I went into renal failure and we learned that I now had upper tract urothelial carcinoma in my only remaining kidney, well, that sent us into a panic. Because if I lose this kidney, guess what happens? I have to go on dialysis. That's good news and bad news. I mean, the good news, obviously, is people can live on dialysis. Doesn't mean death. The bad news is I got to go on dialysis, which means you got to put a catheter in my neck, and then you got to put a fistula in my arm if I choose to have hemodialysis through my blood. Or I have a tube inserted into my belly if I want peritoneal dialysis. Big surgeries, kidney out, bladder out, that's what would happen if I had to go that route. Not everybody on dialysis loses their kidneys. They stay in their bodies. Me, I only have one, and they would take it out. Now, what's the reason for that? Because I would not qualify for a kidney transplant as long as I have cancer. And as long as I have a bladder and a kidney, I have the potential to have cancer in me. So when I got the news about the high-grade tumors in my kidney last October of 2018, it was frightening because it meant my organs were coming out and I was going to go on dialysis. So here's what happened. I went to Hackensack Medical Center because Sloan Kettering, my insurance for Sloan Kettering only covered procedures in New Jersey, not in New York. And any surgical procedures would have to happen in New York City. I was not on Medicare at that time. I now am, thank God. And I support Medicare for all. Just FYI, that's an aside. I don't know why we can't do this in this country, but that's another video for another time. So, I had to go to Hackensack Hospital, and they were the ones taking custody of my last kidney and the care of this only kidney of mine. And I had a good doctor, young doctor, but good doctor. And it was a practice I was familiar with, because when I first started this journey in July of 2012, that's the group I went to, the urology group in Hackensack. And that's the hospital I went to. So here I am in the hospital, They discharged me. Like I said, I lost some weight then, and then I have a nephrologist now in my life who's a kidney doctor, and a urologist doctor who's urology and oncology at Hackensack. And he's following me. This is late October. So then, they treat me. And like I said, every 90 days we have to do something. So like 90 days later, more or less, it was around December-ish or early January, they scoped me into my kidney to see if the tumors that were there in my procedure in late October were still there, and they had grown back in, right? That's high-grade tumors growing very quickly. So that doctor said to me, well, I think maybe we can get away with one more cycle of surveillance, another 90-day period, but, I'm very concerned. We'd be concerned that if we didn't move on moving your kidney and removing your kidney, you may risk metastasis to other parts of your body, and that would not be good. So he basically let me get away with another surveillance period, but it wasn't 90 days. He said, let's go back in like around March and take another look. So we went back in around early March, and there were tumors again. And they did the pathology, and they were mixed, high-grade and low-grade tumors. So then he says, I really think we have to take your kidney out. And I said, oh God, is it urgent? Do we have to do this right now, this moment? I mean, what was happening for me in that time period, we're talking January 2019, I had lost my mother. I'm an only child. I was caring for my mom while living with cancer. She had Alzheimer's, and I lost her on January 31st, 2019. And I said, Lord, Doc, I just buried my mother. Could you please just give me a break? Can we just go with surveillance? I need to get away. I need to just take a little time out. And he said, okay, all right, we could take a break. I said, good, I'm going to go to Puerto Rico or something. And then he scoped me again, and this time it was like a month later. And same thing happened. I had tumors there. They were low grade and high grade. And he said, I think we've reached the end of the line. This was at Hackensack Hospital. And I said, okay, I'm only going to ask one thing. That you let me do a bucket list trip before you take my organs out. And I go on dialysis. And my wife and I had wanted to go to Hawaii. So this was April the 3rd. And on April the 5th, we left for Hawaii. I mean, it was just that quick. And while we were in Hawaii, he said he would call me and give me the date for all the surgeries. So we went to Hawaii for 2 weeks. He called me when he said he would call me, which was around the 18th of April. And while we were in Hawaii, in that most beautiful place with our most beautiful friends, we made peace with the decision to have the surgery and to go on dialysis and to start that next chapter of my life. Praying for it to be temporary, maybe a year at the most. Then I would get on a transplant list. And then like family members or others who love and care about me, who have made generous offerings already to me of their wanting to give me a kidney, and certainly going on a transplant list after 1 year of dialysis. Like I felt like, okay, I can handle this. Whatever it comes, I'll handle it. I have like love and support and abundance. This is one of the great facts of my life. Love and support and abundance. And faith that is deepening and increasing with every passing day. So I made my peace in Hawaii on that beautiful island with this reality. So the doctor calls us up and he says, I got the date for you. And I said, look, I'm going to turn 60 on May 13th. And all I really ask is we set the surgery up for a date right after that, because I'd like to turn 60 with my kidney in my body. And he called us up and he said, look, I have the date. We're going to do the surgery on May 15th. And that way you could have your party and you could celebrate your birthday. And then I'm going to take good care of you. And we'll do the surgery on May 15th. And I thanked him. And then at the end of that call, he said this. He said, so how are you enjoying Hawaii? And I said, it's the most beautiful place I've ever been to in my life. I love it here. And he says, you know, look, I gave you the date for the surgery, May 15th. But why don't we schedule another look into the kidney before then? I just want to make sure we're absolutely doing the right thing. So when do you get back? I said, we get back roughly around the 23rd or something like that of April. He says, then let me set you up for a procedure prior to May 15th. Then we'll take a look in one more time to make sure we're doing the right thing. I said, okay, doc, that sounds good. So we come home, and I realize we have these 2 procedures set up, and this is what happens. I get a notification from the National Institutes of Health website and the clinicaltrials.gov website, which talked about some innovative treatment that's being done with the chlorophyll of the wisteria plant that seems to be able to kill urinary carcinoma of the upper tract. 2 researchers in Israel discovered this process using this chlorophyll of the wisteria plant. It's called the 2CAD trials. It uses chlorophyll and they inject it into your veins, and then using vascular phototherapy, that is laser light, the combination of which the chlorophyll engorged veins in your kidney are zapped with a laser, the phototherapy, and it kills my kind of cancer. So I get like, oh my God, Kay, that's my wife's name. Look at this, oh my God, I gotta track this down. And when I track it down, who in the United States of America is doing this trial with this intervention, it took me back to the doctor who took my kidney out at Memorial Sloan Kettering in 2016, Dr. Jonathan Coleman. I could not believe it. Now, mind you, I have a procedure set up at Hackensack. So now we're just crossed into May 1st, and guess what happened on May 1st? I qualified for Medicare, which meant I now could go to New York City for surgical procedures at Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital. Ain't God good? What serendipity. What amazing luck. So I tracked down Dr. Coleman's nurse, and I figured out how to get more information, and I figured out who I should talk to at Sloan Kettering, first in New Jersey, and they hooked me up. They got me in. And when I spoke to Dr. Coleman's nurse, I asked what the criteria was. She said, do you have 1 kidney? I said, yes. Were there high-grade tumors in that kidney? I said, yeah. Are you over 18? Yes. And is the treatment option available to you, a nephrectomy? Yes. It is scheduled for May 15th. She said, I'm going to get you an appointment to see Dr. Coleman. And I set up that appointment, and I went to see Dr. Coleman, and they sent me, they enrolled me in this clinical trial, which is the phase that it is was calibrating the dosage of the Tucad to use that was not dangerous to the patient, which they figured out more or less in the first couple of patients. So here I am. I think I was the 18th person enrolled in the study. They had that figured out. It was safe. It was painless. It was rigorous. It was a hell of a protocol because, think about it, chlorophyll and plants. And the one big side effect is I had to be in the dark right after the procedure where they instilled the chlorophyll, the wisteria in me, and when they did the actual procedure. And I had 2 doses of this wisteria on two different times. And so, needless to say, the Hackensack, surgeries fell by the wayside. I became a patient again in Memorial Sloan Kettering under Dr. Coleman's care. And that was in, I guess it was like June, the first round of the Tucad. June, July, and August. And then I had a second round in September, October, November. Something like that. December. And as of March 24th, 2020, there's no tumors in my kidney, nor in my renal pelvis. No tumors. Owing to the Tucad vascular phototherapy that I received at Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital. That's where it's at today. So, yeah, I still have tumors in my bladder. I'm going to always have tumors in my bladder. But I don't have tumors in my kidney today. Not this 90-day period. My next procedure is in June, and we're going to hope and pray that this innovative, life-saving, kidney-saving remedy and its effects and its outcome will stay consistent with the other people in the study. I mean, I remember they told me that the first patient they did this with still had no new tumors, and I think they did that in 2017. It's 2020. So even if it just gives me 3 years more with my kidney in my body, what a blessing. Because I think time is important. Just like with this COVID-19, the most important thing about social distancing, flattening curves, is that it gives us time. It conserves resources. Because science is going to save the day. Like, I just know a bionic kidney is coming. I've seen the research. I've seen the prototypes. I know it's coming. And I want to be able to do that. Imagine a bionic kidney that uses your own renal cells as a scaffolding device that they place inside of you. And your own renal cells grow into this device. It becomes a hybrid of microprocessing, and it can clean your blood just as your kidneys did. They have figured out how to prevent coagulation of the blood in this little device they would implant. They're doing the trials now. You know, Donald Trump said months ago he was going to infuse money into kidney research, and they want a bionic kidney and give more money for people who want transplants, and help people out who are donating organs because they lose income and time, and do something there, and increase research and science, and improve dialysis treatment, and all of this stuff. You know what? I hope this is the one thing he said that is true. Because the man, as you know, lies a lot. And if that must have been in some way to his benefit. I think his wife had a scare with her kidney or something. But, I don't know if, he made good on his words or not. I can investigate that. You could tell me about it too. I don't know. But what a good thing to say, and I hope we get it. And that's true for all cancers. Way more money is needed for cancer research and treatment and cures. But I think science is going to save the day. And I think science is going to save kidneys and get people out of dialysis. So the good thing about my Tucad intervention is I'm still here. I still have my kidney. It buys me time. It allows me to continue to have a good quality of life. And it's making space and time for people to do more research, to create more options for us in bladder cancer. That's why I support Beacon, the Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network. We march. This is Bladder Cancer Awareness Month. Actually, May, right? Because we have our march on May 2nd. We had our march, our virtual walk to end bladder cancer, and we raised a lot of money, and it's for such a good cause. And that organization, Beacon, they are fighting for me and my family. They are fighting for cures. They're fighting for research. They're fighting, they're fighting for us. They're our voice. They're working on legislation. They work on regulations. They work on education. They work on supporting us. It's a wonderful organization. Beacon, Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network. So that's what's been going on with me. I know this is a little long, but I want to keep you posted. And I'm resuming my presence on YouTube. And I'm resuming my presence on some of the other venues that I took a hiatus from. And I have a voice now, and I have some clarity of thinking. And I want to use the two of those things for some good. And in between my 90-day scopes and my 90-day procedures and all that, I just want to be of service to people who might be on a similar path as I am. And know that, we're not alone in this. There's help, there's support. We all have a unique voice. We've all had experiences. And I keep hope. Somebody told me this the other day. What does hope mean? It means hang on. Pain ends. I have hope about this pandemic. We're going to get through it. I have hope about my cancer. And I know that with the abundance of love and support that I have, with the tireless efforts of scientists, researchers, and clinical trial participants around the world, we're going to get through COVID-19, coronavirus, and we're going to get through bladder cancer. I believe it with all my heart and soul. So thanks for listening in, and have a good day or night, as it were, depending on when you're viewing. And keep love at the center. Keep love at the center. This is what it's all about. Love. Love. Love brings healing. Love brings connection. Love brings unity. And we need those things. God bless you all. Peace.